I used to think vacations were sacred, that a change of scenery could hit the reset button on your life, that the ocean, with its endless horizon and salt-tinged breeze, could patch the cracks in a slowly breaking marriage. I believed that, until last summer, when the only thing the sea breeze carried was a lie. My name's Nathan, and I'd been married to Elise for 7 years when we booked a week at the Sandpiper Cove Resort in Florida. It was meant to be our reconnecting trip, let's work on us type of deal. Our daughter was staying with Elise's sister, and for once, we had no distractions. No work emails. No daycare runs. Just us, the sand, and the illusion of second chances. The first couple of days were calm. Too calm in hindsight. Elise seemed relaxed, more than she'd been in months. She had that glow again, the one I hadn't seen since before life got busy. She spent extra time getting dressed for dinner, lingered longer in front of the mirror, started wearing lipstick again. I thought it was for me. I needed it to be for me. We'd eat by the pool bar most evenings, and she always seemed to be in conversation with the bartender, a guy named Marco. Early 30s, tan, with a laugh that could cut through a crowd. I didn't think much of it at first. He was charming, in that way people in the service industry are trained to be. But there was something off. She'd laugh harder with him than she did with me. Her hand would brush his when he passed her a drink. Once, I came back from the restroom and saw her leaning over the bar, whispering something to him with her fingers delicately touching his forearm. When she saw me, she straightened like a guilty kid caught peeking at presents. "You okay?" I asked that night, gently, over cocktails under the string lights. "Of course. Why wouldn't I be?" She smiled, but the corners of her eyes didn't agree. By midweek, she started going down to the beach alone in the mornings. "Just need a moment to myself," she'd say. I didn't want to smother her, so I nodded. I sat in our suite, flipping through old photos on my phone, trying to remember the last time she looked at me the way she looked at him. Thursday night, I couldn't sleep. Elise said she was going to grab a drink and clear her head around 10 p.m. That was 2 hours ago. I decided to find her, half convinced I was being paranoid, half hoping I was wrong. The bar was mostly empty, a few guests nursing beers, the usual beach tunes on low volume. Marco wasn't behind the counter. Neither was Elise. A cold breeze brushed my neck, and I followed it instinctively toward the back patio, the part of the resort that wrapped around to a private garden near the cabanas. I don't know what I expected. But not this. There she was, pinned against the wooden railing, lips locked with him like she'd been starved for years. Her hands in his hair, his mouth moving down her neck, fingers slipping under the thin strap of her dress. She moaned, quiet, soft, the kind of sound I hadn't heard from her in what felt like forever. I couldn't move. My breath caught somewhere between a scream and a sob. My stomach twisted, not just from the betrayal, but from the sick realization that she had probably felt more alive in that moment than she had with me in months. I backed away slowly, retreating like a soldier watching a flag burn. I didn't confront them. I couldn't. Not yet. I went back to our room, heart pounding, mind racing. She came in an hour later, smelling faintly of rum and sex. She didn't say a word. Just crawled into bed, back turned to me. I didn't sleep. I didn't even cry. I just stared at the ceiling, counting the seconds between her breaths, waiting for the morning sun to do what the sea breeze couldn't, tell me the truth. The morning after felt like waking up after a storm. Everything was still. Too still. Elise stirred next to me, then sat up and stretched like it was just another day at the beach. I watched her, quiet, letting the silence speak. "Morning," she said, her voice casual, almost cheerful. "Sleep okay?" I stared at her for a long second. Didn't get much. She glanced at me, probably noticing something in my tone, but she didn't ask. Just stood, grabbed her robe, and disappeared into the bathroom. I waited until I heard the shower start before I got up, dressed, and went down to the front desk. I booked an earlier flight home, just for me. Back in the room, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the sand stuck to my shoes, wondering how long she'd been gone from me. Not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. How long had I been sleeping beside a stranger? Elise came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, humming. When she saw my packed bag, her smile faded. "What's going on?" she asked, trying to play it off with a laugh. "You look like you're about to walk out on me." I met her eyes, calm and steady. "That's because I am." "What?" Her face dropped, and for a second, real emotion cracked through the mask. "Nathan, what are you talking about? I saw you last night with Marco." She froze. Just like that, the color drained from her face. I almost felt bad. Almost. Nathan, it wasn't what it looked like. I raised an eyebrow. "Wasn't it?" I didn't know how to tell you. I felt disconnected for so long. Like we're just going through the motions. "So you decided to make out with a bartender during our vacation?" I said, sharper than I meant to, but there was no room left for softness. Her eyes glossed over, and for a moment, I thought she might cry. But she didn't. She just sat down, shoulders slumped. "It wasn't supposed to go that far," she whispered. "I didn't mean to." "But you did." The silence between us thickened, full of things neither of us could take back. I stood, grabbed my bag. "I'm flying home today." "What about us?" she asked, and finally, her voice cracked. "Nathan, please. Don't throw away everything we built." I looked around the room, the neatly made bed, the folded towels, the untouched dinner receipt from the night before. "We didn't build anything," I said quietly. "I did. You just moved in." That was it. I walked out. At the airport, I sat at the gate numb. Not angry anymore. Just empty. I thought about the life we shared, the years we'd spent building something I thought was solid. Turns out, it was just sand. And I'd finally stopped pretending it wouldn't wash away. The flight was quiet. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared out the window, watching the clouds drift by like ghosts of a marriage that never really was. By the time I got home, our house felt colder than I remembered. I opened the door, dropped my bag, and exhaled. That night, I slept in the middle of the bed. And for the first time in years, I didn't dream of her.